Welcome to battle number 7 of week number 4 of the FNF Seafoam Owls Draft League. I'm your host, Lionhugs, and I'll be commentating this replay match between Drellmere of Hive Minded versus Sickbid of the Arizona Dianciebacks. Before we continue, let's go ahead and review the Mega NC Pokemon making appearance tonight. So on Drellmere's side, we have no Mega Pokemon, however we do have Z and E Gardevoir, as well as Z Attack Gyarados. On Sickbid's corner, we have Mega Diancie making an appearance, as well as Z Attack Celesteela. Before we go ahead and begin, let's go over some quick initial thoughts. Taking a look at Sickbid's theme, it seems like we have a very strong, once again, a very strong defensive core. That's if it's become known for, with using Mega Diancie, Celesteela, as well as Toxapex. Each one can kind of sort of swap out to take the hits for the other, as well as all of them can set hazards. Obviously, Mega Diancie with Stealth Rock, we have Leech Seed with Celesteela, as well as Toxic Spikes with Toxapex. So the three of them can easily wear down most opponents' teams, and I feel like in this matchup it's also pretty good for the most part. Between the three of them, they can easily harass Drellmere, as well as set up all the conditions for other Pokemon to come in and potentially sweep or clean up late game. Rotom right there is going to be a really nice pivot to help kind of gel the team forward. And speaking of cleaners and sweepers, we have Hoopa as well as Porygon 2. Especially if that Porygon 2 is holding a Calm Mindset, it can easily go ahead and function as a late game sweeper once everybody's sufficiently chipped away. And that's also, of course, assuming Drellmere doesn't get the upper hand, as Drellmere does have some pretty strong Pokemon in this team. I would say more or less that this is a more offensive team in comparison to Sickbid. Looking a little bit closely, we have just again the sheer attacking power of Golisopod, as well as maybe potentially Dragon Dance Gyarados and Chandelure, not to mention Z Gardevoir as well. All four of these Pokemon can function very well as wall breakers. Obviously, Chandelure is a really big threat to Celesteela. And depending on the movesets that Gyarados and Golisopod have, with that really strong physical attack, can potentially wear out Mega Diancie and Toxapex after a few good tries. A premier target, I believe, for Sickbid is probably also going to be Gardevoir, just because she does have a really good moveset, and as well as that Z Crystal, it could potentially take out Toxapex, or even potentially Mega Diancie if it's Calm Mind invested, and depending on what move it uses. So that might be a priority target for possibly Hoopa with that ghost typing to threaten it out. Likewise, going with Drellmere, he also seems to have like a pretty good pivot in Gliscor, which can also use Pursuit and other kind of dark moves that could, again, hurt Porygon 2 and Hoopa, as well as just harass in general. And speaking of harassment, we also have I always forget the name, I'm sorry, I just wrote it down. A Gastrodon, sorry. It's actually not one of my favorite Pokemon, but one of my favorite of Gen 4. I should know this Pokemon's name by now. I just kind of call it Pink Quagsire, because it does typically have a very similar moveset to Quagsire, despite not having Unaware. It does usually bring Scald, Toxic or Yawn, maybe an Ice Beam, maybe an Earthquake, especially with that Storm Drain ability, which can make it immune to water-type moves, though it depends on whether or not Toxapex even bothers to use Scald. So we'll see how effective that is, but that Yawn, assuming Gastron has brings Yawn specifically, can really stop potential Calm Mind sweeps later in the game, assuming Gastron is kept alive. Because otherwise Toxic is also a good choice. It's just with Toxapex out on the field, or as long as Toxapex is in play, not to mention Celesteela, Toxic may not be the best move to use overall as a harassing kind of whittle you down sort of strategy. So kind of interested to see what Drellmere will bring to answer for Sickbid's defensive core. But without further ado, let's go ahead and begin. feel like the first leads might be Gleescore and potentially Dianciebacks or Toxapex to set up hazards and scout, and indeed we have Joker, the Gleescore, making the first appearance. Oh, and Hoopa. Hoopa for a sick bit. Hoopa uses Psychic. Interesting move, tries to take out Joker real quickly. Joker actually sets up Stealth Rock, interesting. So my prediction was kind of reversed, and it looks like this Joker is holding a Toxic Orb. My prediction was reversed in that I expected Sick Bit to set up the hazards first. Porygon has traced Poison Heal after switching out for Hoopa. Doubt that's going to help much at this point, and out comes Ender the Chandelure. Oh, Ender goes for the Substitute. Could also function as a Calm Mind Sweeper, but the Shadow Ball from Porygon 2 takes out the Substitute before Chandelure gets a chance to set up. Chandelure switches out to Cocytus, the Glycopod. I'll have to look that up. And a Shadow Ball from Porygon 2 only does about 18% health. And indeed, Sick Bit switches out, hoping to get Toxapex probably good Toxic or Toxic Spikes. And Cocytus uses First Impression. It's not very effective, and it's hurt by the Rocket Helmet that Toxapex is holding. One of Toxapex is also carrying the Poison Touch ability. No, just Regenerator. Sorry, I'm thinking of another Pokemon. Ozen comes out. It also has Regenerator, now that it's traced it from Toxapex. And Toxapex uses this opportunity to set up Toxic Spikes. And now Porygon has traced the Regenerator that Gardevoir has traced from Toxapex. Very interesting turn of events. Ozen uses Thunderbolt. Looks like this is meant to be a counter to Toxapex. I wonder why it didn't go for a Psychic. Out comes Gyarados, or Oceros, the Gyarados. Since it's Flying type, it does not get affected by Toxic Spikes. Out comes Hoopa again. I'm assuming Hoopa is going to have like a Thunderbolt maybe. And Oceros uses a Substitute. And it's carrying Leftovers as well. Seems to be more of a bulky Gyarados. And out comes that Thunderbolt, and away goes the Substitute. I'm assuming Oceros is now going to use Dragon Dance. And indeed it does. With the safety of Substitute, it is allowed to go ahead and do that. I wonder, if it's carrying Crunch, that's probably it for Hoopa. And instead we get a switch out to Slughorn, the Gastrodon, who gets poisoned by the Toxic Spikes upon entering, but it is immune to Thunderbolt. Slughorn's HP whittling away thanks to that Toxic Spikes. If it has recovered, it should be fine for now, but it will want to switch out eventually. And out comes Porygon 2 to trace the Storm Drain. Ooh, nice read from Drellmere. Slughorn uses that Yawn. Porygon 2 is probably not going to want to stay in much longer. Or perhaps it does want to stay in, so it's safely put to sleep. Looks like Oceros is trying to take the opportunity and hoping that Porygon 2 switches out, and indeed it does with a Teleport. Out comes Rotom Heat. Interesting choice, given Stealth Rocket and the type disadvantage. But of course, it probably does have a Thunderbolt. And Oceros doesn't want to take a chance, switches back out to Slughorn. And there goes the Volt Switch. Sorry, why did I say Thunderbolt? This is the pivot. Thankfully, Slughorn is immune and prevents the switch out from happening. Ooh, but a Hidden Power. I'm assuming that's Hidden Power Grass. However, Slughorn is holding a Ridno Berry, which weakens the damage. Slughorn going for another Yawn. Should probably recover very soon, if not now. Or, oof. Poison damage taking it down to 18%. And now Porygon 2 has traced the Storm Drain. And I'm assuming we're going to see a recover from Slughorn. And no, we're not. We're going to see a switch out to Joker. Joker has Poison Heal, and it is having its health restored thanks to that Toxic Orb. Ooh, Joker goes for the knockoff. Nice. It takes away Porygon 2's Eviolite. That'll make it much easier to take out. Ooh, Porygon 2 goes for the recover though. And Joker comfortably getting back to 58% thanks to that toxic heal. And a roost, interesting. So we have two bulky Pokemon facing off one another, but Porygon 2 decides it doesn't want to hang out, and it does a teleport to send out Dianciebacks. Interesting choice. I'm assuming we're going to see a Scald. Joker uses an Earthquake, does about 42% damage. Dianciebacks does not want to stick around any longer. Dianciebacks sets up another layer of Toxic Spikes. Looks like Sickbit's really going for that chip damage for the rest of Drillmir's team. Porygon 2 switches out and takes that Poison Heal. However, Joker uses Knockoff, however Porygon 2's item has already been taken away. And another Earthquake whittles it down to 35%. Porygon 2 once again teleports. And this time we see Hoopa. I wonder if we're going to see a Psychic. Joker probably doesn't want to stay in here. Oh, instead we see a Shadow Ball. Ooh, but the lowered special defense. Not that it needed it at this point. Another Shadow Ball will be more than enough to take it out. And a knockoff. One-hit KO. Takes out Hoopa. The score is now finally 6-5 in Drillmir's favor. That Poison Heal will help a little bit, but Joker's not in a good position. Probably wants to switch out to get rid of that stat decrease. Out comes Diancie, probably coming out to Mega Evolve. And in response, out comes Slughorn. Probably take out whatever hit Diancie is about to dish out. And indeed, Diancie uses a Moonblast and takes out Slughorn in one shot. The score is now back to an even 5-5. Out comes Cossetus, the Golisopod. And again, Porygon 2 makes another appearance. This time it's tracing the emergency exit. Interesting. Will it leave now? I guess not. An Aqua Jet and a critical hit, no less, takes out Porygon in one shot. The score is now 5-4 in Drillmir's favor. Golisopod being Toxic Spiked is not really in a good position right now, even against Diancie. And Mega Diancie switches out for a Toxapex, probably to take another Aqua Jet, and indeed, that's what happens. Aqua Jet only doing about 6% damage. But thanks to Cossetus' emergency exit and a Citrus Berry, it heals after being reduced to less than 50%. It goes back to 67% and switches out for Joker, who again also has Poison Heal, and we know that Earthquake will do heavy damage, but it goes for a knockoff. Ooh, gets rid of the Rocky Helmet. That actually will help out. Toxapex uses a Recover, but it really can't do much to Joker. It's probably not going to want to stick around any longer. And Sickbit switches out to Rotom Heat. And Rotom Heat has Levitate, which means it's immune to Earthquake. It's unfortunate, since Rotom Heat and Celesteela are both immune to ground-type moves. There's roughly a 50-50% chance where Earthquake will even work. Rotom uses another Shadow Ball, only doing about 28% damage this time. Joker goes for the knockoff, getting rid of Rotom's leftovers. That'll make it much more frail and easier to deal with. And Joker just comfortably poison healing. Ooh, Rotom goes for the Overheat and takes out Joker. It was just low enough. The score is now 4-4. Out comes Cossetus, the Golisopod. And Toxapex in return to take Rotom's place. Once again, resisting that Aqua Jet very comfortably, but this time no Rocky Helmet. Excuse me. Out comes Oceros, the Gyarados. And in response, Mega Diancie comes out. Or rather, at the same time, Mega Diancie comes out. Stealth Rock not really doing too much damage. And Osedo switches out, this time to Ozen. Ozen traces Magic Bounce. Interesting. Ooh, but Diamond Storm takes Ozen down to 8% health and raises Mega Diancie's defense by 2 stages. Yeah, sorry, 2 stages. But it doesn't want to take whatever Ozen's about to dish out. Ozen's probably going to go for the Z move. No, instead it goes for a Psychic. Takes out Rotom. The score is now 4-3, however the toxic damage is most likely going to take out Ozen. Indeed it does, the score is back down to an even 3-3. Both trainers clearly trying to outread the other. It's rare that we see such evenly paced matches. Very happy that we are having this though. Out comes Celesteela and Cossidus. Celesteela switches out for Mega Diancie, probably to take whatever Cossidus was going to dish out. And a Liquidation takes out Mega Diancie. That high attack plus a stat bonus. More than enough to take out Mega Diancie. Probably wouldn't have done as much to Celesteela due to the steel resistance. And indeed, Celesteela comes back out. And instead, Dianciebacks switches out probably to take another Liquidation. Instead, Ender comes out. Interesting choice. Getting Toxicked against Dianciebacks. And out comes Osedos. Looks like Drillmere's going for a nice bait and switch. It takes a knockoff and loses leftover, so it won't be as sturdy. And now Celesteela comes out. I'm assuming we see a Dragon Dance for Osedos. Indeed we do. I wonder what move it'll use. Oh, another substitute. Maybe to safely do another Dragon Dance? Ooh, an Air Slash takes it out in one shot. Excuse me. And another Dragon Dance. Was that appropriate? Osedos isn't that sturdy. Oh, okay. An Air Slash only does 33% damage, so Osedos better make its move now. And a Waterfall takes it out in one shot. This could be game. The score is now 3-1, and a Moxie raises up Osedos' attack by one more stage. Assuming Osedos has Earthquake, this could be the game. Indeed it does. And one last Earthquake ends the match. This score is a victory for Drillmere with a score of 3-0. And what a match that was! So yeah, I initially thought, especially with that core bulky team, that Sickbid would be going for multiple layers of traps and harassments. We ended up seeing more harassment, in my opinion, overall, from Drillmere with the Yawns as well as the Stealth Rock chipping away. Fortunately, Sickbid seems to have kept that in mind and kept everybody healthy, did nice uses, or nice reads, I suppose, were done on both sides, obviously. But Drillmere was able to finally pitch it in their favor, definitely using Gyarados not so much as a early game sweeper, but a late game sweeper. Very interesting set, especially considering that I thought Porygon 2 would end up being more of a late game sweeper. Just very creative, very... I don't want to say... Well, yes, very creative uses of their Pokemon, but very, I guess, cautious gameplay from both sides. It wasn't necessarily a stall match, but I think we saw a lot of really big-brain tactical decisions used by both sides. It was very entertaining to watch, and I'm very proud of both of these trainers. Very excited to see how they will progress into Week 5. And speaking of, stay tuned for more battles of the FNF Seafoam Isles Draft League.